Hey, welcome back to the Small Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sabotage Spoils, the deck we did a deck dive on here on the channel last week. It's an ESA startup deck that is trying to recreate Noise, the original FFG Anarch runner from the 2012 FFG Netrunner core set. Now this deck, as you saw last week, I don't think is the most elegant deck. It's a bit slow, it's weak on card draw, its economy takes a while to spin up, but it does do a lot of damage and does get a lot of sabotage triggers throughout a game with Augustina and all the core damage. The issue is that this deck is not very consistent and not very quick. And right now in startup, games are going pretty fast. Not a lot of games are going over 12 to 15 turns, so this might not exactly be it. And as I ended last week's deck description, when I started playing with this, I started realizing there must be ways to speed this thing up. And one of the first things I looked at is instead of Aesop's Pawnshop, a slow resource that allows you to sell your cards for 3 credits, we could play maybe a bit more on tempo and less influence for spec work. For 2 influence and 1 click, we can sell away one of our empty imps to gain 4 credits, technically 3 credits, and draw 2 cards. And this seemed really exciting. A better way to be on tempo, get more card draw into the deck, do everything we wanted. This also paired really well with Ghost Tongue, one of S's best core damage card that reduces the cost of events. And I thought maybe we can take this list and package in a bunch more card draw events and econ events and build a faster deck that is quicker to set up and maybe doesn't rely on, the card draw of the Nihilist, which is not something you ever want to find yourself relying on. And I ended up with this. This is the Sabotage Spoil event package ESA deck, and it is still kind of a mixed bag. There's a couple things going on here. Firstly, you might notice there are no icebreakers. And that was something that I kind of ended up getting to, is that in the previous deck, I almost never installed the icebreakers. We were getting enough accesses off Botulus and Chisel and stuff like that. And the icebreakers were slow and expensive, and we do not have the time to find them, install them, and pay for their use. Mind you, the Anarch breakers do require a fair bit of support. So we decided to go to 3 Botulus and 3 Boomerang as a way for us to deal aggressively with ice. And we're a bit quicker to set up, and we can start checking remote servers as soon as turn 1, which the other decks sometimes struggled with. On top of that, we're running way more events. We have the 2 spec work. We're running 2 copies of Moshing, which is pretty good on its own. You can discard what you have to find something you need. On top of that, it works really well with Steelskin Scarring. 1 click, discard 3 cards, draw 5, gain 3 credits is massive. And we can now play 3 Chastushka because we have a bit more of an event package. You notice the resources are a bit cleaned up, only 2 Augustina. We're not playing the Nihilist. That's good. But the hardware also, it's a bit of a change. We have 2 Devil Charm. This allows us to use the Chisel to instant speed, lower the strength of ice we're encountering, and trash it, which is fantastic. Considering if we don't have breakers, we want to make sure there's not 3 or 4 ice on a single server, because that's going to be a problem for us. But then we run into the issue here, is that again, we're still putting so many cards into the same deck. I noticed it took me a while, and mind you, Ghost Tongue isn't even in this list. It got cut eventually once we realized that some of our events cost 0 credits. Some of our events we don't even play. A lot of times we get this trashed with some other means, and then we're not getting that much value out of Ghost Tongue, and then we're also not getting that much value out of Asa. We have very few core damage triggers in this deck. In fact, we only have 2. And they're the card that you play to be able to take more core damage. So none of this really makes sense. And this is kind of where I got to where we're going today, which is why are we trying to shoehorn this into ESA? So we took this list and we moved it over into a better home. One of the big issues with this deck and with the ESA deck, it did not have a lot of card draw. So why don't we bring it somewhere where we just get card draw? And this is Breakerless Wolf Mode, our startup Loup deck. I don't even think this is the best version of this deck. We'll talk about this for a second. But once we're moving to Loup, we can play a lower deck size. Mind you, 40 is our minimum. We're embarrassingly playing 43. Cannot figure out what to cut. But the idea is that the first time a turn we trash a card that we've accessed, we draw a card and gain a credit. So now we can take our imps, we can be aggressive, we can trash cards and draw cards, which is exactly what we want to do to continue to set up and go through our deck. Otherwise, it's very similar to the last list. We have 12 programs. We got Botulus to break ice. We have Chisels to destroy the low strength ice and to Devil Charm the big stuff, which is really important because we can't deal with too much ice. We have 3 Fermenter for economy. This gets better with some of the other cards in our deck. We have 3 Imp to make sure Loup is triggering as soon as turn 1. You'd love to Imp run HQ turn 1 if you can. And we have a single self-modifying code. And the very flexible card for 3 influence allows us to find a program from our deck and install it at instant speed. Sometimes we use that to install a Botulus when we're running to be able to get through ice. Sometimes we use it at instant speed to get a Chisel to trash the ice that we're encountering. We can also use this to install viruses on the corpse turn. So we get, of course, Augustina still in the list to get a nice cheeky little sabotage on the corpse first time per turn. Resource package, we're now on 2 Paladin Puemo because one of the big changes once you come out of ESA is that you're much more excited to play Keiko. one of the best standard consoles in the startup format that allows you to gain credits when you use your companions. So with Keiko down and Puemo, you're getting 2 credits a turn as long as you're installing stuff. And that's so important for this deck that definitely wants to install a lot of stuff and doesn't actually need raw economy because we're not spending money to do much besides install our cards and trash some cards that we accessed if we don't have an imp. So this is fantastic. This works out so much better for us. We still have the 2 Devil Charm. We have Gachapons to trigger on the corporation's turn. We have 2 Simulchip as well to be able to install things at instant speed and install viruses on the corp's turn. A lot of times you just reuse this to recur Bostuluses or imps, and that's good enough. And then for the events, we have 3 Steelskin Scarring, 3 Sure Gamble. This is card draw, mind you, clicklessly, or sometimes you pay 1 to draw 3. We have 2 Spec Work to be able to sell your extra fermenters when you don't need the money, or your imps when they're empty. Very good. And finally, 3 Chistushkas, which is still a sabotage card we're playing in the list and a very good one. In fact, sometimes even better outside of ESA, because in ESA, people expect this and they ice up HQ consistently. Against the Wolf, against Lou, you probably want to ice up HQ so you're not weak to an imp or 2, but just Chistushka lands. And specifically, if you end up trashing ice in front of HQ and you can hit 2 Chistushkas in a single turn, that's potentially quite devastating. And I think I like this version so much better. It's so much faster. It lines up really well with the speed of startup right now. And of course, 43 cards. There's a chance the better version of this is this version, which is a Breakerless Hoshiko. We just played 2 more cards to hit 45. So we played a GameNET, which works really well, and a 3rd Chisel, mind you. I feel like there was another card I was considering when I was playing. I forget what it is at this moment. The gameplay will probably tell you. And now we're playing Hoshiko, who's an ability that flips every turn that you access a card. She will flip or stay flipped, and that gives you card draw, credits, and a link. All stuff this deck could want, and there's a big chance that this fires more consistently than Lou. This is probably the optimal version of it. But for the videos coming up, we are playing this version. One last thing I want to say is the self-modifying code for 3 influence is definitely very good, but I am also considering playing a single copy of Tranquilizer for 3 influence. This card on its own takes a while for it to de-res ice, but the fact that we're not good at dealing with too much ice, having other abilities that allow you to deal with ice really helps for a deck without breakers. This specifically is a card that if you have a cookbook installed and you install the Tranquilizer on the corporation's turn, it'll have 3 counters when your turn starts and a card will be instantly de-resed. If you can hit some of the bigger ice with this, it's fantastic. Again, a lot of the bigger ice in this deck you'll end up chiseling, so give it a couple plays and see what works out better for you or your meta, whether you want the self-modifying code for consistency or the Tranquilizer to do a lot of damage. If you want to drop the SMC to play another Simulchip, I think that's fair too. You get a lot of value from them, especially because you need to install a lot of stuff if this is the only way you're dealing with ice. And that's the list. We have a couple games coming up where we're playing this Lou, and again, this is a much more aggressive version of the last week's list, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. You can go pretty far without breakers, as scary as that might sound. Enjoy the games. All right, so it's another day, and I have to confess, we might have lost the plot a bit. In an attempt to make this deck a bit more aggressive, I decided to take out all the breakers and move from Aesop's Pawnshop to a spec work kind of idea, and then I decided to try Ghost Tongue and play a lot of event package, and then that became an issue. Once I ended up paring the deck down to have just aggressive ways to deal with ice that aren't breakers, I realized I only had 2 sabotage cards left in the deck, 2 marrows. So now we're Lou. So let's see how this works. Same idea. We have Augustina. We have a lot of early aggression. We now have Imp to help draw cards. Mind you, card draw was lacking in the deck. We're playing against GameNET, which ice destruction is pretty good. Our chisels are going to go pretty far. Opening hand is actually not too bad. Let's keep that. Let's see how this goes. I've been struggling with this deck because I think there's so much stuff you need to do. You need a whole virus package, and there's no like proactive viruses that like you're happy to spec work. All of them generally, like, you don't want to trash any of them besides empty imps. I mean, then you need all the sabotage stuff. Then you need the Nihilist Augustina, and like at that point you're already at 60 cards. So who knows? So we'll see if this goes a bit better. We are Lou again, 40 cards. I think we're playing 42 because we can't figure it out just yet. But the idea is, maybe we actually just do Sure Gamble. Augustina, we'll drop the Gachapon, we'll run R&D here. And before we access, we have 3, 3 imps in the deck. So we have a big chance of hitting an imp here. In fact, we did. So we're going to hit the imp. Now, because it's the first time we install a virus, they have to sabotage 1, and we have to shuffle 3 cards back. We definitely want the chisel. Fermenter's pretty good. It's a large bit of our economy is stuck in there. We have 3 Chistushkas, so it's not necessary we need one. And I feel like the Simulchip is going to be really important if we need to replay our imps aggressively and to chisel down some gold farmers or what have you, or some pings. Because again, we have no breakers in this deck. We have 3 boomerangs, if I'm not mistaken. Reach server. It's a spin doctor. We can either pay 2 credits or technically 1 credit, or we can go ahead and imp it. I'm just going to pay 2. We get a card draw, mind you. First time we trash a card we're accessing, and we get a credit. So that's pretty good. That really helps us. The last time that we played this deck, we were not very aggressive and card draw was pretty lacking. So I really like this ability. I feel like you could also consider Hoshiko. I think Hoshiko is reasonable, but I kind of like this a fair bit. All right, so we're definitely going to be looking for a chisel here. They're setting up in a remote server. I think we have the most pressure potentially on HQ. We have that ongoing sabotage. There's the daily quest. So hopefully that we can draw into a boomerang here with the steel skin scarring. Chisel might actually do it. So we can install Chisel here on server 1 and just run and hope for the best. They have to, mind you, that's the first virus a turn. And so if this is a gold farmer, we can run twice and we should be able to get it. Mind you, we get even more value when we take another daily quest. So we're hoping for a gold farmer. An Enigma would end our turn. A ping would be fine. We could consider floating the tag. So it's up to them to res here. Mind you, we have 2 cookbooks. Perfect. It is a gold farmer. That's exactly what we want. So we're going to look down Broken Subroutine's Fire. Now the Chisel's at 1 strength. We'll end the run. And then we can go ahead and run back. Now you're expecting 3 gold farmer in every NBN list and startup, let alone specifically in GameNet because it interacts well with their ability, mind you. And here we can now go ahead and imp this to get some value. We get 2 credits and another credit and a card draw. Fantastic. Now if we draw into a botchless, we have a good Chestushka. We've already trashed 2 cards. I haven't been paying attention to where they came from. They iced up archives. One was from R&D. The other one was from top of R&D. So they're just icing up archives. I respect that. So now we want to set up still a bit. We want to be able to see what's on HQ with 5 credits. It's not too much. It can be. I think we can force a res here. I think pop-up window is potentially the most annoying, but it's not too bad. Let's just run HQ first click. They don't have a lot of money to spend here. It's an Engram Flesh. Ooh, disgusting. This thing's really hard for us to deal with. I guess a boomerang's the best we can get. It's hard to chisel this thing down, and this ice is really overperforming for 2 credit ice. They're going to name event. Luckily, it's only just Chestushka. We could have blind Chestushka there, but we're going to lose the Chestushka. We'll get an access. We'll get the imp. We'll get our ability, but hey, that's our second Chestushka down. 1 has been removed from the game. So that's all the multi-access we have in the deck. It's a toll booth. We're going to go ahead and imp that just to get the card and the credit. We have another Augustina trigger, which is fantastic. So we can consider playing Fermenter, running archives with 3 credits. Maybe they can res a ping. They also know our whole hand. So we can't really go back into Engram Flesh unless we don't want any of these cards. That's not the worst. That's another card from R&D. Let's run archives. They don't have a lot of money right here. 3 credits. It's a pop-up window. Okay, this is a really big deal here. So they gain a credit. So if we lose a credit to this, they're going to gain a credit off the GameNet ability. I think that's fine to check 3 cards here. Now they're back up on 5 credits, mind you. We'll pay 1. We could consider ending the run, but I think it's worth it at this point. They already got their money. There's a Bologna. We'll go ahead and steal that. They get another credit off that, if I'm not mistaken. And we see a whole bunch of things trashed here. A Spin Doctor down, Toll Booth, and Engram Flesh, and Mess and Chestfo. So a fair bit of damage. Unfortunately, we can't daily cast here. Luckily, we do have the Fermenter. We only have 2 spec work in the deck, but a spec work would be perfect. A cookbook into Botulus is another good way to get into HQ. But we now know that if we want to run archives, it's not like they're not going to end the run here. So a bit of multi-access here. With the last Chestushka would be super valuable. Unfortunately, our economy is not fantastic. We can always pop up the pop-up window. We can always trash the Fermenter to install the Botulus here, but I don't know what this could be that we're really worried about. And we try to keep the economy down for a second, huh? Man, I don't like GameNet. Okay, we're going to have to recover for economy. That's definitely an issue. If we want to pop this, it's for 4 credits. I don't feel like we're in a rush. We could take our whole turn doing credit daily cast. We're like really weak to like seamless launch into tomorrow's headline or into Drago Ivanov, and they can trash our resources. I think that's a worst case, but I feel like maybe we should just pop the Fermenter, honestly. We could do Fermenter. We could simulchip for the Chisel. That's always good to keep on deck. They have some bigger ice, mind you, Mess and Chestfo, and Advanceable Ice, Toll Booth. Some bigger stuff for sure. How can we draw 1, see what we got? Puemo's nice. Puemo's definitely not bad at all. And then next turn, we can consider getting the Keiko and starting to get some really good value. Yeah, I think that's okay. Not a huge turn this turn, but we'll see what they do in server 2. If they just score out a Beal, totally fine with us. I think worst case would be Seamless Launch into an off-world office. A Crypto Crash here would also be fine. But I'm not sure where that server 2 is. Maybe it's a Regolith that they're trying to get the full value out of before it potentially gets trashed. I like that a fair bit. It's hard to face check into their ice. They have a lot of ice that, like, if we lose money to like a gold farmer, sorry, not a gold farmer, to a white space or a pop-up window, there can be a big swing. Mess and Chesto is pretty good too. Double advance into a predicted planogram. So it looks like it possibly is a Bologna or a Drago Ivanov. If we want to get the Bologna, we could actually, I think, get into the server. So start a turn. Okay, if we wanted to get into the server to steal the Bologna, and by steal the Bologna, I mean trash the Bologna, what we'd have to do is we have to install a Simulchip. We'd have to put a Botulus on here, and then we'd run, and then we have to pull our imp. And I think that's actually quite fine. I think we can do that. I think that's fine. I think Toll Booth we can't deal with because it's 3 credits or end the run, so our run would end. So let's install this for free. Thank you, Puemo. We'll get the botchos on here. That's all our money, mind you. Now we've installed the first virus a turn. So we can try running server 2 here. We can only break one single subroutine. Not too much of the ice has multiple subroutines that we're expecting in this NBN list, besides Gold Farmer, I suppose. And if that's the case, we can always chisel it. That means we can't steal the Bologna. No further action. Okay, so here at instant speed, we'll trash the imp to install an imp. Breach server. It's a Bologna. We can't steal it, but we can trash it. So we know it's in archives. We also got a card and a credit. So we made money off of that. And here we could actually consider running HQ. We actually, no, we just used our imp. I don't think we want to consider running HQ. They could consider purging here, which is a bit awkward. I think we just need to click for a credit. But now there's another 3 points into archives. We have to respect, of course, they probably purge here. They have to respect, we have to respect Spin Doctor. But if we get one more good sabotage, mind you, one unknown card in archives, I need to keep reminding ourselves or to check where that came from. That's obviously super important. It's a bit harder on Shinteiki.net from top of R&D. Okay, cool. And we're back into the money. Fermenter here will be 8 credits for a click. Not too bad. We're down 1 simul chip. We definitely want to be running consistently. I think like we could consider just running HQ here, allowing the Engram Flesh to fire. I think we will get down the Keiko first. It's hardware is technically the worst call, right? But we want to keep getting our engine going. So we'll get down the Keiko. Mind you, this is, I think, free. Oh, the first time. So this is actually 2 credit install and 1 from back. Is that actually, that doesn't seem like it works correctly, right? Yeah, I feel like that interaction doesn't work on GameNET. I'll have to watch the VOD. And there we can just run HQ. In theory, we can die to snare. Let's see what they call an Engram Flesh. We're just trying to get our Loup ability as much as possible. We'll try to imp stuff. They named hardware. Okay, that's fine. So they do get the Devil Charm, which mind you is quite strong with Chisel. But at least we have the Keiko. So we have an imp and another a resource, a daily cast, which we'll probably get down last click here. It's a punitive counterstrike. Very good to know. We're definitely going to imp that. Otherwise, the Bolognas are going to be a problem. Here, it's either daily cast or sure gamble. I'm going to go for the daily cast. I feel like we have enough turns for this to pay out. And now we have the value engine of Keiko Puemu. So we install one thing a turn. We get the Puemu credit and a credit back off of Keiko. So we can install most of the cards in our deck for free. And server 2, they don't really have a scoring remote. They need another ice on that server because that botchless will probably get through something. Second ice on HQ. I think we just want to be aggressive, probably run R&D here. Double ice on HQ. Wonder if the winning agendas are in there. Okay, we need the card draw. A second imp is not too bad. Let's draw up for our first click to see what we get. Chisel's nice. I think we can just install the imp, run R&D. Again, this will be free. They have to sabotage 1. We'll pay attention to where that comes from. Top of R&D, okay. So let's run R&D again. As soon as we get agenda, we know that we can just run archives. We have to deal with 1 ice. We know it's a pop-up window, 1 unknown ice, mind you. With 5 credits, I'm hoping it's just like a gold farmer. We can always chisel that, come back. A cookbook, again, makes all this much nicer. But we're getting our Loup ability consistently, which I'm a big fan of. The ability is good. Card draw is great. Credits are obviously good. Whoa, whoa. That's a Stavka. That's firing. Did not expect that at all. Program destruction. That's cool. It's only 2 influence, mind you. It's not going to end the run. And if we have no programs, like, we're going to lose our imps, of course. Unfortunately, probably the botchless on the remote server. Good for daily quest remote as well. I guess so. I think you need 2 ites for that. Say no to creds. So let's see what they fire here. So that's 1 botchless, and then the imp that has a token on it. Mind you, we can still trash a card potentially. We still have Bologna credits, which is good. And they only have 1 credit. It's a digital rights management. Okay, good to know. Okay. So with 1 credit, we could consider checking archives. We're just looking for that 1 last agenda. Spin Doctors, again, really important. But with them having 1 credit, I think we have a moment to catch our breath. Again, Chisel, it's hard to like face check into this thing. Obviously, because every time we hit it, it's quite bad. So we need to do like Chisel plus Boomerang plus Run Back, something like that. Okay, in terms of imps, we've gone through 2 of them. Let's keep drawing. Again, they have a lot more work to do than we do. We could do Boomerang R&D, Chisel R&D, Run. Just keep that pressure on, be as aggressive as possible. So if we do Boomerang R&D, Chisel Run R&D, I think we'd need to wait for the cookbook for that to be legitimate. We want to keep the Boomerang maybe a surprise for the remote server. Another Keiko doesn't do anything. Let's keep drawing. We want to install 1 card a turn. Fermenter is perfect. It actually is credit positive. And it gets our Agostino once per turn as well. But yeah, we want to always try to get the value off Keiko. So installing 1 thing with Puemu is actually, this gives us a credit on the install. So fantastic. Still no cookbook yet, but we'll get there. 1 Bologna still in archives. Second ice on R&D. Yeah, they're turtling up. I feel like they have to some extent. But we do have the Boomerang. The question is, at this point, we could consider running HQ. It's a bit scary. Like we could Boomerang this and run it, but if we don't get in, it's not particularly good. Let's keep going. They have 23 cards left. Draw 1. That's another Fermenter if we want even more value. I think we want a cookbook. Spec work is fantastic. That deals with the imp, gets rid of the imp, and gets us 3 cards. 2 cards, 3 credits, which is fantastic. This is our like on tempo Pawnshop. I think it's really cool. I just wish there was more cards like the old cash back in the day. That was like a virus that you installed, got all value of it, and it just sat there. Like we don't generally want to pauper fermenters. We don't want to spec work them. So I feel like we just need one more good, cool virus like that in the startup format. Augustina getting the mill there, one off of R&D. I feel like we should check archives sooner than later. We did lose one of our, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, our Devil Charmers. But with Devil Charm, we could always put a chisel in this, Devil Charm and run and feel pretty safe about it. So next turn, imagine we could have done there. Next turn, we'll spec work the Imp. Hopefully, again, we don't have breakers and we can actually just boomerang. I think we want to install a virus, boomerang. Oh, subliminal messaging. That's something we have to run every turn because this is one of the easiest things for them to just continually sabotage. Subliminal messaging just totally destroys Agostina. Because if we're not running, that's the easiest card they can sabotage every turn. Server 2, card in the remote. I don't fully remember when and why they chose not to res this thing here. I'm worried that's a spin doctor. So either we run archives or we run server 2. I think we're going to try and run server 2. Let's start with the spec work. Get rid of the Imp, get some cards and credits. Okay, cool. This is sick. So we've already trashed a card here. So we can do boomerang, simulchip, and then we can install a botulus. So I think that's good enough. The question is, which one do we boomerang? The inner ones seem to only have one subroutine. I'll do the inner one. Oh, excuse me. We'll install the simulchip and then we'll run last click. So this means we can pull. We haven't installed the virus yet, but we can pull from our deck or from our heap, excuse me. We can install a botulus if we need to. No further action. This is definitely going to be a spin doctor, right? Oh, there's a Mess and Chestfo. Okay, perfect. Boomerang well positioned. So none of these subroutines are going to matter. Gain, lose 3 credits, end the run. They have no more money. They have only 1 credit here. Is it a spin doctor? Send a message. Oh my, okay. The winning agendas and archives, they get a free res here. We are very comfortable on credits, not too worried about punitive counterstrike when they have 1 credit. They res a toll booth on the outside, shuffle that back, and the winning agenda is now just in archives. We know there's a Bologna there. We have more than 5 credits. Wow, the economy and aggression of this deck really worked out. There's a spin doctor. Shh, just in time. Shit. Okay, hate to see it. But now the Bologna in archives is not safe. And it's hard for us to run this. Like we don't have pinhole threading. So we basically have to run archives to bait this out. I think we can just go ahead and run archives. Like worst comes to worst, we crack our simulchip and trash a fermenter. We don't need the money, but we definitely need to run archives here. And then after that's done, we can consider chiseling and doing other stuff. So let's run archives. But we don't want to install a virus if we don't have to. With 3 credits, not much they can res. Continue to approach ice. We could consider chiseling this, but I don't think we're running archives more than once. I'd rather chisel a gold farmer because we have no good way to deal with that. And this is, you know, whatever. It's just credits. Not that they don't need them. If you have a breaker here, you're technically not spending money, but because we don't actually have any icebreakers, this is a bit tricky. All right, so spin doctor's gonna get popped here. 4 face down and 1 Bologna that we threw in there with the Imp. And there you go. Spin doctor gonna shuffle in some stuff. We're definitely gonna see some face downs. Spin doctor and a Bologna. So we now made a successful run for the subliminal. We see a government subsidy, a daily quest, the 3rd toll booth. They only have 5 credits. Can we safely just check HQ? I feel like we want to. They drew into the spin doctor. Do we care about the Engram Flesh? I don't think we do. If they call program, it's like, you know, not great. Do we need the botulists for server 2? I kind of think we do. I think we can just botulist HQ run. Oh, how bad is that? How bad is that? We only have 1 more Chistushka. Chistushka could end the game for sure. We don't have a cookbook yet. We could consider trying to win off of R&D. I don't think we need to run this turn. We've already ran once. We have enough money. I'm not too excited for the daily casts or the sure gamble again. You don't need to play money if you don't need the money. We want to play a virus this turn. Oh, Chistushka is perfect. Except a 3 ice central is actually tricky for our deck to deal with. Luckily, we don't have to deal with the Engram Flesh. So it's just 2 ice that we have to watch out for. So the question is where we put our Botulus. Think, and in theory, like Chistushka, they can just, I don't know, maybe we need a Botulus for their remote server. I want to install something to get the Keiko value. Cookbook would be really good against Stavka. We have 3 boomerangs and 15 cards left. Wow, we've gone through our deck pretty quickly. Mind you, we only have 42 cards. So what do we do? Think we could consider camping the remote? There's 2 more spin doctors in it. Chistushka is the best multi-axis we have besides just trashing stuff. So running R&D again, a bit tricky. I'm going to just botch us on this. Means we can consider running next turn. This also gives us a credit and gets our Augustina mill, so that's okay. But I feel like there's a lot of things we could do here. These sort of virus decks, mind you, that's the top of R&D, are a fair bit tricky to play, if you ask me. Understanding when to use your resources, your simul chips, whether to hold, to camp the remote, to put pressure on. Hedge Fund puts Buzz up at 9. Yeah, but this Super Glacier is exactly why I'm not a biggest fan of GameNet. Card in the remote server as well. We want to make a successful run if we can to deny subliminal messaging we still don't have the cookbook. And the cookbook means that we can like panic Botulish to deal with the Stavka. I think an earlier version of this deck also had Tranquilizer, which I'd be pretty happy with, especially if we have Cookbook on the table. Do we need click for 10 credits? Not really. Card and server 2. So what does it cost to check this? A fair bit. Kind of hard, honestly. Let's draw once. We're trying to get the boomerang, I think, to charge here in R&D. If we need to use our simulchip in a panic, we have access to another Breakerless, which is not good enough. Like, we still get hit by the Stavka. I'll draw once. I think we can let something in the remote. Another Breakerless in hand is pretty good. Again, these 2 cards are dead, so we can consider drawing once more. Gachapon's okay. It does have a big chance of getting us to our cookbook, which is nice. I think that's probably fine. We're not going to get our Keiko value, but I don't think we're in a rush to do that. We have a lot of money already, let alone we have all this money we're not even interacting with. Let's get rid of the 2 redundant cards and see what an uniced or unadvanced card in server 2 could possibly be. It might just all be on 5-3 agendas, mind you, right? Like, we saw punitive, so it could be all that. And okay, that's fine. They have money. Not great, but like not the biggest target here. Okay, let's go ahead. Augustina, Boomerang, Cookbook, Daily Cast. Okay, the Cookbook is the only installable, but that's exactly what we want. Shuffle 3 more cards back. Definitely the Boomerangs and the Daily Cast, the only cards that we want to install. All the other ones are uniques. We have enough of them. Okay, start a turn. So now here with 15 credits, can they res everything on R&D? Probably. It's kind of a nightmare. So this is where having no breakers catches up to you. So we need to like top deck a Boomerang, install a Botulus, run R&D. Sick. Credit positive. This gets a mill. Let's run R&D. Gotta get lucky here. There's only 7 agendas, mind you, probably in this whole list. 18 points and 3-pointers. This is a gold farmer. Okay. Annoying, but hey, we're gonna go through. We break the subroutine, so we lose credits if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And they gain credits. Continue to approach ice. It's another gold farmer. Okay, cool. All right, so the chisel can get to town here. They trash these at just about instant speed. So we can actually clean up R&D pretty quickly by just a single chisel and a single simulchip. So this gets boomeranged. We lose some credits as well. They gain credits. We're definitely going to have Bologna money here. We probably could afford breakers, honestly. I didn't think our economy would go this well. So here, we don't want to trash our stuff. Again, last click, if we're ever panicking, we can go through this stuff because it's not going to stop us from accessing. If we like need one random access to potentially win. Mind you, 2 face down here in archives that came off the Augustina. Then they're not choosing not to mill from hand. And there's a lot of cards that they could consider like sabotaging from hand. Like the punitives are useless now. Do we win? Spin Doctor. We'll trash that. Get a credit, draw a card. Okay. At this point, I think we need to pivot to Devil Charm Chisel and just destroy the remote. If they can't have a remote, they're going to flood up. It might be a long game though, but there's only 1 more Spin Doctor. They're just purging. That's totally fine with us. We lost a lot of money on these, but again, we have more money than we need. At this point, we're not spending money to do much, right? Like we're breaking everything for Boomerang. Mind you, a bit of money on the gold farmer, but you know what I mean, right? So here we can turtle up a wee bit. We definitely want to get the Devil Charm. It gives us some options. Spec work, I don't think it's going to do much unless we like really need a mat draw and we can get rid of the fermenter. I think that's fair. So install this, gains a credit. I think at this point we can just draw. We want to have a Boomerang in hand for sure. Will a daily cast pay out before the game's over? Most definitely. But I think at this point, we probably should just be drawing, honestly, because we don't need more money. Like we literally are going to struggle to spend all the money we have. Subliminal. They're playing the Subliminal. Honestly, if they're worried about sabotage, I think you don't play the Subliminal. They're on 20 credits now. Question is whether we can run the remote. I'm pretty sure we can. So how do we do it? We would have to install a chisel in here, Devil Charm it on approach. That goes down. And then we have to draw a Boomerang. Okay. So there's 3 Boomerang and 6 cards. So the spec work almost definitely gets one. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we'll install a Boomerang. It's free. We will chisel. Oh, they concede. Oh, looks like good game. Agenda in the remote? Yeah, looks like there's agenda in the remote. So, like, yay, you too. All right. Wow. Yeah. So you see the triple ice, like that doesn't happen all the time, but like this is where the having no breakers kind of catches up to you. But we had that aggression. I love the 3 imps. I love just getting in there and trashing stuff where they ice up centrals more than the remote server. But with the chisel here on this ice, we run it. It gets trashed immediately because we lower its strength by 6. So it becomes 0 strength. So the chisel eats it. And then we can continually boomerang the mess and chestfo. So they still have a lot of work to do before the game's over. And admittedly, we're getting to the end of the stack. Like there's not that many viruses we can continually install. So we're kind of only getting so many Augustina hits. And then maybe the last Chestushka and a panic on HQ will close the game. But yeah, we had the lockdown there for sure. Feel a bit better about this version of the list. That's for sure. All right, let's try another one. All right, so a couple days ago, we played this startup deck that was a similar idea, Augustina plus some viruses and a bit of disruption. Unfortunately, I was kept tinkering that deck. I couldn't exactly get it to work, so now we're on Loup, a leaner deck, 42 cards. You should probably cut 2, but we're a bit more aggressive. We have active card draw, we have 3 imps, and we have no breakers. So let's see how long that we can run with that being a huge liability, because we have good ice destruction and we have Pawnshop and boomerangs. Hopefully we don't have to rely on any breakers. Opening hand's okay, right? We have a gamble to daily cast is good enough economy, steel skin for draw, and we have a Chestushka if they don't ice HQ. And a lot of times, you know, you might not ice HQ against Loup, so we can get some early disruption. I like this a fair bit. Now, built to last can be quite fast with fast events. They could just start scoring out. In startup, I guess it's probably a bit less strong than standard, which I'm used to because there's no audacity. But we'll see how aggressive they are. What kind of, if they're just value with advanceable ice and Kayambe grid, or whether they're going fast and loose. I think Mesna Chesfo is like the one really good card that Built to Last got in Midnight Sun, which is a code gate that if they take an advancement off it, when we encounter it, we lose 3 credits, which is nice. And it has a nice face check. There's the ice on HQ. An early boomerang might change that. And the Akets also are going to get pretty frustrating at some point. Maybe it's an Afshar on HQ. That's quite okay. So I think we're going to set up instead. If we get an imp really quickly, we can just charge R&D. Looks like they're putting something into server 1. And we can probably face check. Like, I think the worst thing on HQ. Ooh, new remote. I wonder if that's a mistake or not. It is not a mistake. Well, because that's probably a wall-to-wall, right? We're pretty good at trashing things. We don't have dirty laundry. Okay, so we can go ahead and just check this. I think in theory we do sure gamble run. Actually, if we run, we get a card and a credit and we have to throw something out if we trash something. Do we want them to have a wall-to-wall though? I'm pretty sure we don't. So we'll go ahead and check this. Maybe we didn't have to play the gamble there. I didn't see whether, oh, it's a Regolith. Okay, we're definitely trashing that. We drew a spec work. We don't really have any targets in our hand, but this is our like Aesop's Pawnshop in a more aggressive list. The issue is that there's no good viruses that you want to get value of and they stay on the table in this list besides imp. That's kind of the problem. Like our fermenters get used, our botulists have value, our chisels have value. So that's largely it. Hostile takeover, not even. Card in the remote server. We just botulist run this, right? Nothing to it. Magnet is the only thing that really hard counters us. Maybe they're on an envelopment and have a couple too many end the run subroutines. We're definitely going to run in here. I don't know what the advanceable traps exactly are in standard. Maybe it's a clearinghouse. Mind you, this ability gets a credit the first time they advance a card, or 2 credits, mind you. So it's a bit easier for you to play these like on value traps, like maybe an Urtica or what have you. We'll find out soon, I think. Watch us, mind you, virus counter gets through 1 subroutine. So a lot of the stuff like Hordem, Aket, they have 2 subroutines, but only one of them really ends the run. So let's see what they res here. Archer is a potentially scary non-advanceable ice. It's a mess and chest. Okay, fantastic. So that is cool. That's the card we talked about. We can definitely get through the end of the run. We're going to lose 3 credits, putting us on 5, probably enough. And if this is an SDS drone deployment, we do have a program to trash. So we'll break the end of the run. We'll lose the 3 credits. This is a good piece of ice for this deck. This is really good and built to last. It's an Oaktown. Wait, why is that face down? Wait, whoa. Yeah, this should be face up. I wonder why that's face down. Maybe it was just a JNet lag thing. That should have made sense too. Did we see in the log that they got money off of it? Oh yeah, we did. Super weird. We should have paid attention. We could have 100% known what that is, but we didn't pay attention to the log because normally it says advance. Oh, wild. Now this remote server we can always get through as long as we have enough economy. So that's fine, I guess. In theory, the 2 like subroutines don't work too well together. If they make us lose 3 credits, it's not if Able doesn't end the run. So the first subroutine, sorry, the on and counter and the first subroutine sometimes fight each other for the same space. We want to draw, and I think we'll get down our daily casts. They have 4 credits, so they can still probably res an Afshar or on Aket on HQ. And we'll just get the daily cast down. Once we get a boomerang, we have some nice Chestushkas. If we get an imp, R&D is open. So we have some good ways to get pressure, and they need to put more ice on this remote server if they want to feel really comfortable about scoring out. We'll pay attention to any card getting advance to see if we can see in the chat log what it is. Some aces drawing up for 1. If 4 credits. We did see a Regolith. Not the fastest card, but it definitely allows them to get and res some of the bigger ice. Mind you, they did spend 5 on this thing. And this is a very credit positive agenda. The first advancement gains them, 3 credits? 4 credits, technically? Well, 3 credits in some. And if we leave this on the table, it becomes a lot of money. So I think that's a pretty okay trade for them. We have to figure out what their agenda suite is. It might just be low to the ground, you know, Azyef, Protocol, Project Atlas, Hostiles. I'm expecting for sure. Hostiles so good and built to last. But whether the 5/3s are, or like 4/3s potentially, but whether the 5/3s are SDS drone deployments, we want to always make sure that we have a program we can forfeit. So they drew up 3 times. They have 6 cards in HQ. So it's either play something here, install it, or throw 1 into archives. With 2 credits, we can consider running HQ. Like, I think Afshar is the big blowout because then we'll have only 2 credits. And there's not much we can do on 2 credits. But if we can figure out what's in front of HQ, if it's just an ice wall, I don't know. Second ice there, that's expensive as well. So with 3 credits, we can consider doing the Chestushka. It's a bit expensive to go blindly. If we draw an imp, I think we would run R&D or HQ. No imp here. We have the Gachapon Chisel combo though, and we have we have the Devil Charm Chisel combo, and we have a Gachapon that can get us an imp if we need to. So we also Simulchip if we need to move around the Bontulus. Let's get the Gachapon down. We can consider, we have, mind you, 3 imps and 30. We 6 cards off the top, so let's run R&D, and before we access, we'll pop the Gachapon. Worst case, we get a Fermenter, or maybe we get a Poemu or a Cookbook. Best case, we get an imp here. Oh, it's just a Fermenter, right? Yeah, that's fine. We were hoping for an imp. We also get to shuffle back certain cards. 3 cards to shuffle back. We definitely want the Boomerang. I don't know if we're going to need the Devil Charm. Chisel, there's not a lot of low strength ice besides Ice Wall in this potential list, so I'm not sure it's that important. We already have one in hand, right? Steel Skin Scarring is a good draw, and Sure Gamble is good draw, so I think that's all we're going to do. In this list, the Devil Charm has no value outside of a hedge fund. Has no value outside of the Chisel. We could draw here, click for credit. I think we can just put down the Devil Charm. That means that as long as we have 5 credits, we can put a Chisel in HQ and Chestushka in. And no matter what they res, we'll get through it, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 7 strength ice, which I don't think there is on 3 credits. Definitely not. No, we'll be fine. And we want to pressure Essentials. We know they have a hedge fund, so they probably do credit hedge fund right here. They just drew one off the top. Would love to have imped that hedge fund, because this is like right at the point where they can stabilize. If they get up to 9 credits, they're feeling pretty good. But if they want to get the hedge fund, they have to spend their whole turn doing it. Mind you, they don't have to do credit hedge fund. They can advance Mesnechesvo, credit hedge fund. That'd probably be a bit better. Maybe advance another thing too. Yeah, there you go. That's way better than clicking for credits. You don't want to click for credits. Card in server 1. Looks like we're not hedge funding this turn. If that's a Breakerless, it's pretty annoying. Again, we could kind of check this. The Mesnechesvo costs us 3 credits, but we have 2 Botulis counters, so we're basically forcing a res. They're on 5 credits, so we definitely want to be aggressive here. We definitely want to be aggressive. Do we have anything else in the bin? No, we don't. If it's a Spin Doctor, it's kind of rough. I don't know if they'd put a Spin Doctor on the table like that. Like, I feel like that wasn't a better play than playing the hedge fund, probably. So we could always consider like running HQ, seeing if they res anything there. And then if they do, they might not have enough credits that we can run server 1. I think that's probably a fair plan. Do we want to draw into anything? I don't think so. Let's just run HQ and force a res. I think the only card we know in HQ is a hedge fund. I really wish we had an imp. And of course, the on encounter in this thing is not like Toll Booth. It's not if we can't lose 3 credits, it ends the run. So if we don't have money, it's totally fine. Whoa. Okay. You don't see this one a lot. So this is going to be a couple traces. We don't have Link. So first, trash a program, trash a hardware. I think that's fine. So this is trash a program. So our fermenter is worth 4 credits for a click. So if they trash a fermenter, we basically save a click. At least on this turn. I think we're going to lose a Botulis if anything. But hey, they only have 1 credit now. The Devil Charm. So they lost the Botulis. The Devil Charm, is that going to go? No, I think we want to protect the Devil Charm probably. Because the Devil Charm is the only way that we can deal with the Winchester. Winchester's hard to deal with. There's not a lot of ice with 3 subroutines, and so we can't boomerang that. So we'll protect the Devil Charm. Probably end the run here though, because this is on HQ. You don't see this card a lot. It's not bad on HQ. I don't know how many runners in startup have Link, which makes this a bit worse. So server 1, now if it's a Regolith, they have to do credit, res Legolith, click. That's okay. We could also install the Simulchip just to bring the fermenter back. No, let's try and stabilize on economy. Clicking for 2 credits here. We're going to get the credits anyways, but we do need the credits. I think we can just check server 1. I think we could install Simulchip check server 1. The question is if this is a card with a trash cost, because we'll only have no credits. But if we install this, we can't lose any money to Mesnechesvo, so we feel clever. But I'm pretty sure this will be an asset with a trash cost. I'd be really surprised if this was like an ASF. But we'll find out soon. They have 1 credit. They could res Ice Wall. Looks like we're through. So they can use the Mesnechesvo ability. Actually, maybe it was worth not installing this just to bait out the Mesnechesvo ability. Simulchip here, we could also install the fermenter if we wanted to, but I feel like we want to be able to move the Botulis around. So here we'll Botulis through it. 1, 2. Oh, hold on. Sorry. Whoops. Yeah, we don't need to break the first one because we have no money. So we're going to keep a Botulis counter. We'll access here. Would love it to be an agenda. If it's a Regolith, I think that's the worst case. Wall to wall. Oh, thanks. It's an Alice. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now we know it's on HQ. We're potentially 1 really good Chestushka away from winning. This is a very hard card for us to deal with, so we're definitely going to have to install our Chisel and just bring the house down. We can do that next turn. Unfortunately, we're not going to have Chestushka money, so we need to get good money here. The fermenter would have definitely helped, but if we pay 4 credits for it, maybe it's right? Because then next turn we get 6 credits off of it for a click. It's like clicking for 2. I don't know. Maybe it was actually worth installing the fermenter now. Just so that we have some money next turn besides the daily casts. I think we're going to take a turn off here. Luckily, they're on 1 credit. So if they install something in the remote server, it's not going to go too quickly here. They had a really big forecast turn between resing this thing and hedge funding, or installing in the remote server and hedge funding. So maybe they're going to be a bit uncomfortable on credits for a bit. Ice on R&D, not they can likely res it. It's probably ice wall or bust. Advancement, okay. So 2 credits. I think a cat is on 3 credits. I don't think there's any 2 credit advanceable ice. And they're going to have to discard a card here. Our Loup ability hasn't fired that much. We really want some imps. If we get some imps too, we can bring this thing down. So we'll also take a turn to set up. Cookbook is nice, but not totally necessary. So I think we can draw once more credit, install the daily casts. Fantastic. And so next turn we'll have 4 credits, which is barely enough for Chestushka's Chisel. We'll see how it goes from there. I'm actually okay with dealing with Afshar 2 and HQ. We just Cookbook, chisel it. And mind you, this deck has no breakers. So everything we have to do is based off of Boomerang, it's based off of Bonchelus, and it's based off of Chisel. And Devil Charm helps with that. We were considering having a fermenter in this list, and I think it might actually be correct. I think we have a self-modifying code in the slot, but if you have Cookbook and you install with a Gadgetpon or a Simulchip on your turn, it'll basically start its turn with 3 advancements and you immediately de-res something, which is pretty good. That's pretty cool. We've seen some Corpus Res, some big ice that we struggle to deal with. So here, they could do credit. They can't hedge fund. I don't think there's any like very good burst economy on low credits in startup besides Predictive Planogram, which is totally playable. Maybe Extract is playable. They would not have to trash one of their installed cards. They could. There's a chance this Messna Chespo is just as good trashed as it is not trashed. Mind you, the on encounters is relevant. But we probably need to steal 2 more agendas. I think the best thing they could jam out here is a hostile takeover. That would put them up on 8 credits or something. So we don't know what's in HQ. I think we only know the hedge fund, right? But the Chestushkas are really powerful. I think the best case scenario is that we wait a couple turns so we have enough money, that we do Chisel, run HQ. So we do Chisel and then we do double Chestushka. Because the Chestushkas, if you do 2 of them in the same turn, so much more strong. So maybe we can just like try and camp the remote server while we accrue 8 credits. Hope they don't double ice HQ. Currently the Winchester looks like it's keeping us out. So, all right, credit. Looks like next turn they might get the hedge fund down. So that might encourage them to install some more ice. Maybe we want to run an R&D just to pressure them. Ice Archives, that's cool with us too. Wonder why they do that. They haven't seen any sabotage yet. That's not a bad place. Maybe they just have a card they don't want to discard. So Archives Ice seems good. Okay, we're going to be on 4 credits. 1 of their daily cast is down. I think we could afford to steal Skin Scarring here just to draw 3. I think an early version of this deck had Moshing, and yeah, it's probably not bad. Sick. Okay, so next turn we can get the Sure Gamble down. We have a Boomerang. We could run R&D. We could do... So we don't have 3 clicks. So we could do like credit, gamble. Not elegant. We can install the fermenter. So we could install Cookbook, fermenter, credit. Yeah, that's probably fine. So now next turn we can click this for 6 credits. That's pretty good. Fermenter always feels a bit better than it is. The fact that next turn we spent 2 clicks to gain 6 credits, it's a bit more in context of what this actually is. Technically 2 clicks for 5 credits. But when you click this and you get 6 credits off of it, you feel so good. But I do think you need to keep in mind that is a 2-click econ card. But that being said, it's good. And sometimes it's a card you install and you don't click it until you need it. And at that point, it's like 10 or 12 credits. Maybe it provokes a purge. I think we'd be happy if they purged here. So in theory, next turn, if we want to be like hyper aggressive, right? We could pop the fermenter, Sure Gamble. Oh no, we're 1 click short to get the Chisel down. Unless we like Simulchip a Chisel and we don't have one. Oh, okay. We're getting there. I want to do that Sabotage 8 in a single turn. It's pretty disruptive. We probably want to run Archives the same turn, so a single Spin Doctor doesn't undo all of our work. We also haven't found any imps yet. There's 3 and 21 cards. We need to get that Loup ability. Our Loup has not been triggering. Built to last, advancing a card. We're going to see the hedge fund here for sure. There's that hedge fund. We know no cards in HQ at this point. They advanced the Archives Ice, right? Yeah. So now we have it closes in the ice pool, what it could be. Now on 9 credits, we have to respect things like the Colossus. I always forget exists. In theory, one of these could be a big old Pharaohs as well. Card in server 1 with 9 credits. Do we just, I think we just do credit Sure Gamble Boomerang run. Yeah, probably. Why not? We want to make sure there's no Spin Doctor on the table. They also haven't scored an Alice yet, so we don't have to worry about Archers, which is a very big sentry that trashes things, ends the run, gives them credits, but they need to forfeit an agenda to score it. So before and after Hostile is scored, it's a totally different game, let alone any Wayland agenda. We are going to lose 3 credits to this. It'll leave us with 4 credits probably. JNet's being a bit slow. Engram Flesh, cool. You see this everywhere, right? There's not amazing ice on the remote server. We can also see what they call first. Technically, we have to. And if they don't call event or program, we don't have to break it. Immediately, if we do that, they see our hand, and there's actually a chance that not showing the Chistushkas is worth the boomerang. Because I don't think they expect 2 Chistushkas in a single turn from Loup. They named resource, so this doesn't actually do anything. I'm going to go ahead and break it. That makes them also think to some extent we have resources, but I definitely don't want to show them that we have Chistushkas and Chisel, because then it's clear that next turn we're kind of coming out after them. Continuing counter ice, here they can mess and chest with us. We don't need to chisel that, of course. Let's see if they drop us down to 4 credits. They do. Nice. There's almost no reason not to. Because it's like refilling this is like clicking for credit as long as it's empty. It's a Kayambe grid. Oh shit. Okay. If we trash this, it basically only costs us 2 credits and we draw a card. I think that's probably worth it. Yeah. Maybe we didn't have to do that. It gets free advancements, but there's only one really card they want to advance. They could get the free advancement on the Engram Flush, and that makes them way harder to run the remote. We're not playing Light the Fire, so we are, or Pinhole Threading, so we're actually weak. Maybe that's why they ice archives, because of Pinhole Threading respect. I respect that. Next turn, we'll start on 4 credits. We can pop the Fermenter. Hey, there goes our Botulus. So this actually, we could spend a click right here to reinstall the Botulus before they end their turn. I think it might be okay. Yeah, I think it might be correct. Especially if they jam in the remote, I think we'll definitely consider it. Single advance. See if they put something in the remote server. Because the program was trashed, so like we can use Simulchip without having a cost associated with it. Sometimes that cost is actually good for you. They didn't draw. Okay, so I don't think we have to do it. They have a lot of cards in hand. Okay, so in theory, if we also could consider pulling out the Fermenter, but I think our money's going to be just okay enough. So we pop the Fermenter. We will have 12 credits. Then we install the Chisel on here and we do Chestushka. I don't think we love to do that until we have also a click to run archives. So I think we'll pop that this turn. Good old spec work. Okay, that's good to have just for security. So we'll crack that. We install this for 2 credits. Next turn will be on 12. 3, 6, 7, 8. That's good enough. And this doesn't do anything, honestly, but it's fine. It's okay. How many Gachapons do we have in the list? I think, oh, we have 2. Okay, we've used 1. Gachapon's really, really good. I wish we could play more of them. But I'm already at 42 cards and I have no idea what to cut. Hedge Fund, they're on 11 credits. That's the second Hedge Fund. Probably want to jam out for the remote, but they still have a lot of work to do. Again, they're on 0 agenda points. There's probably something in HQ. The only issue here is that if we hit, what's it called? If we hit an SDS drone deployment, we can't steal it from archives. I just want to do the double Chestushka to see what it feels like. I know we're going to be broke, but it's fine. Card in server 1. Again, we could probably run this. Advance means we definitely want to run this. Shit. Are we ever going to double Chestushka? So now this is really awkward because we have no way to Simulchip. What have we done? Which Chisel is this? The one of only, because we removed the other one from the game. We could just do Boomerang, run this. If they hit our Chestushka, so be it. This is also not a Spin Doctor. There's a chance we can trade an agenda for an immense amount of damage. Yeah, I think we're just going to go for the immense amount of damage. Yeah, I guess. This is whenever, not first time, so it doesn't matter. We'll run HQ. So now Devil Charmless Chisel. We'll trash this ice. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm doing this wrong. That's the one. You don't need to, you can play any run event. This is not like you have to spend a click to run to activate this thing. We'll do the Devil Charm first for sure. So we'll lower the strength. Breach server. Sabotage 4. Anarch multi-axis. Really strong here. So let's see where the cards come from. If they all go from the top of archives, like we do another one, then, or we could just Boomerang archives run it. Technically, we can Simulchip for a Botulus to get through two subroutines, so I actually don't think we need the Boomerang. Let's see where the cards come from. If they do a lot from HQ, they might just leave an agenda in HQ, and then we can run back. And now they have an awkward decision. Do they advance the card in server 1, or do they try and fix HQ or dig for a Spin Doctor? So Sabotage 4 means they have to decide 4 cards, either from HQ or the top of R&D, but they can't look at the cards from the top of R&D. They have to decide 1 and 3. 4 cards from the top of R&D. Wow. Well, back we go. When it rains, it pours, huh? Are we going to see 8 cards from the top of R&D? I really hope this works out. All right, let's run archives. How bad could this be? We know this is not a Spin Doctor because they advanced it, right? But mind you, if that's an Atlas, they could use it to grab a Spin Doctor, but just an Ice Wall. Okay. It's 2 strength, so we can't chisel it. So we'll just go ahead and sell our Botulus for free. Now, also, this is important because we have something to trash the SDS drone deployment. We're going to see 9 cards. One of them they discarded earlier, if I'm not mistaken. We did not see Augustina at all in this game. Breach server. Woo! Got him. All off the top. 5 points and exactly the SDS drone deployment. Remember, we had to make sure we always had a program when we instilling. Good game. Ooh, that was exciting. All right, maybe they had agendas in hand. They wanted to go straight from the top of the deck. I don't know what else we saw. One more spin doctor out. That's the first spin doctor we've seen so far. And then a bunch of money, and the big money they needed, wall-to-walls, government subsidies. Oh, I think they did all right. I think they definitely did all right. I think there's some ice placement stuff like Engram Flush in the remote server. Not often is the best thing because it doesn't keep us out. We can always run it to get through. Also do oof. Try, I think you can try icing the remote more than centrals and jamming out, right? Like, if your hand has all of the agendas, who cares about protecting R&D? Yeah, I think that's always a possibility. If you have a hand of agendas, like, you just got to jam it out. Like, double ice remote install. That's fine. Like, that's going to draw attention, so not often do they run HQ. If R&D is open, who cares? There's not a lot of agendas in there, and you can go from there. Our Loup ability also didn't fire, but I think that's okay. Slightly smaller deck size, and we had that pressure. I think it triggered once, but we're unlucky we didn't draw any imps. Kind of the best you can ask for. Oh, I fired twice, actually, right? Yeah, it's not bad. All right, Breakerless aggro Loup. This is going to be a nightmare. Architects of Tomorrow has a lot of ice, and we only have a limited amount of ice destruction. We also don't have icebreakers, so we're going to have to click through a lot of stuff, eat a Trieste Biroids at some point. I really do not like Architects of Tomorrow as an ID. I feel like so often you just get these really slow lists. Oh, they're on 54 cards as well. Wow. So kind of a nightmare. Best opening hand, I think, would be Chisel into, what's it called? A Devil Charm, but okay. I'm going to mulligan this. Let's try again an early imp. Chestushka, for what it's worth, is pretty easy to fire when they have mostly Biroids you can click yourself through. Thanks, you too. The first time each turn, this says that the runner passes a res piece of Biroid. They may res a Biroid. Doesn't have to be nice, paying 4 less. So our aggression sometimes is a huge issue. I think we can just set up. It's a bit awkward to open with Steel Skin Scarring because then we can't play a sure gamble off the top. I tried to warn you. Well, we can just set up here. Hopefully we find the Paladin Puemo with the Gachapon, just because we have Keiko Puemo combo, which is obviously very good. If we install Puemo on their turn, it's going to start with a credit, so it kind of accelerates, let alone we paid for 0 credits off the 2-cost virtual reduction. Let's see what they jam into server 1 here, right? Like, there's a lot of like slow econ cards over time that you'll see. Daily Quest is a bit hard to protect with Biroids, but maybe you're happy just to get your value. But I think Refuge Campaign, I think Nico and Maryland are probably a bit better, just because you can get paid out sooner. I do see no Paladin there. What do we have? A Chisel or a Fermenter? I guess Fermenter is what we're getting. Shame we don't have the cookbook there. Maybe we shouldn't have banked entirely on getting what we were looking for. Spec work is like probably not necessary. I don't think it's going to be so easy for us to empty imps. Oh, 2 cards to shuffle back. Hold on. I did this wrong. Let's redo this. Start over. Okay. So we don't need the Keiko. We probably are not going to have to spec work, considering it's hard for us to empty an imp when they have some of the best ice on every server. So we're going to shuffle back the other 3. Chisel's so important. Chestushka, really important. Now they know we have it, so they can play around that. And let's start our turn. Okay. We need to find quickly Augustina so we can have some pressure without having anything on the table. It's not too bad to get these 2 down, so we can draw once more and then get them down. Oh, there it is. Paladin. Get you down. The first companion, we've already played a companion. I'm convinced that GameNET doesn't know how these 2 cards work together. We'll get down to Keiko next turn, so now our installs are twice cheaper each turn. And they only have 7 credits, so they really need to land something on the table. If we are not running, they're not getting their ability. Double ice on HQ, that's the Chestushka pressure. This game is going to go to 20 turns, I'm pretty sure, so buckle up. Let's draw once in. Another Gachapon is nice, but we definitely want Augustina. We're installing a lot of our viruses without getting the value. There she is, fantastic. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get our Paladin credit on that. Never mind, we just saved it. So let's either get the Gachapon down or get the Augustina. There's no real reason to get the Augustina down here. It shows our opponent that they can, like, it gives them a turn to like hold a Spin Doctor or stuff like that. So we're just going to hold on to Gachapon so that we can Augustina install a virus, and then on their turn, Augustina. And maybe actually keeping the spec work was good because it lets us do something on tempo with Imp. Maybe that's actually okay. I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to show them this, right? Like, we install a card, we're not getting use of it. That's not great. We can almost definitely run that. There's 8 credits in the Fermenter. There's always money in the Fermenter. And we can do Augustina, Botulus, get a mill, run server 1. I think that's fine. We're going to start seeing their Biroids, but whatever. It's been a couple turns. Actually, it might be better to get the Imp down because this is likely an expensive card that costs something to trash. So we can do Augustina, Imp, Botulus, run. We can't click through a non-sell. This could be a ganked and then we'd lose the game if that's the case. They can have this card here. I don't think we care. Let's just set up. So in terms of setup, we could do Augustina, Botulus. Might as well draw then. Augustina. We definitely want to get a Devil Charm on the table so this Chisel can do something. Install the Botulus. No, sorry. Well, that's not right. We'll install the Imp. Install that for free, technically. Cookbook gives it a counter. Augustina gets a 1. Let's see where this comes from. Sabotage 1 every time we install a virus. 1 card from HQ. I like that. They can always throw out their worst cards. And here we can probably get down the simul chip. It gives us some flexibility. Mind you, we can pop the fermenter, botulus, move it around. We can do some cool stuff here. Double advance. Okay, now I'm interested in running that. Triple advance. Just a Vitruvius. That's fine. That's totally fine. Let's go ahead and Gachapon on their turn so we can get another Augustina. Boomerang, Chastushka, Fermenter, Imp, Paladin, Puemo, Simul Chip. I think the Imp is the only like legitimate target there. Oh no, there's a Fermenter. That's fine. Yeah, Fermenter's fine. We're probably going to crack one of these so the Purge doesn't hit us like a truck. And Fermenter is going to start with 3 credits on our turn, or 3, what's it called, virus counters on our turn, which is great. Shuffle 3 cards back. Okay, so we don't need the Puemo. We definitely want the Boomerang. Probably want the Chastushka. Double Ice is getting a bit hard. And we definitely want the Simul Chip. We have enough Imps. Cool. All right, let's crack one of these Fermenters. We need to just like draw something. Like we're just sitting back and milling a bit. They did top of R&D. Maybe we can get lucky. Single Ice remote server. We definitely could have got that Vitruvius. So let's make sure that we can get the next agenda when it's ready. It's pretty good. Draw one more. Boomerang is great. So we have Boomerang Botchas. Fantastic. Even if we get one of these discarded, it's good. So I think we're just going to do hit the Fermenter to gain 10. And we're going to just Botchas server 1 just to get another Augustina trigger. Mind you, this is also free considering we haven't done Paladin Puemo. Oh, excuse me. We haven't done Puemo Keiko. And then we get another top of R&D. And now next turn, you'll have 3 virus counters. So it's hard for them. And if they put another ice there, we do Boomerang. And 3 virus counters means we can get through every single Biroid in startup. Don't quote me on that, but I'm feeling pretty confident. Triple credit. Okay, cool. So we don't have to do much. 3 cards in archives. That last one came from HQ. Let's keep the pressure on. We don't have that many viruses. So at some point we are going to run out of nice installables. Okay. We could in theory simul chip this turn. I don't think we need to. All right. If they're going to play Glacier, we're going to play the most uninteresting game of Netrunner you've ever seen. I don't think we can easily get a mill here. We could consider setting up. We have 3 Chastushkas still left. So I think we could do daily cast, Botulus HQ. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah. Nice. Just to get another. You don't want, in theory, we should have done that in the other order because the fact that we have no clicks here and they're sabotaging 1 is really bad because they could be like, okay, I'm going to throw out an agenda, install a Spin Doctor. If you want to sabotage, definitely don't install the daily cast before that because then we can always run archives to check them. You have to keep your opponent honest. So don't do what we did. Top from R&D though. So yeah, it gives them more information. There's just no reason to get the daily cast down on click 3. That's sloppy. Okay, Bez. Second ice on the remote server. Let's see if they jam in. No, they're going to play it nice and slow. I think we got 4 sabotages so far. Again, we're going to run out of things to do. At this point, we're probably just going to tilt a bit and try and get accesses. I would love a Chastushka here. Okay, when life gives you boomerangs, you have boomerangs. We could boomerang run HQ. They'll start to get a couple of their free reses, but there's likely an agenda there. And there's also very likely, I don't think we need to be aggressive here. We have Imp. Yeah, this is fine. They're also very likely to have Project Vacherons. It's a magnet. Oh, I forgot. Well, we had a good run. But yeah, I forgot. We just can't get through magnet. Yeah, this is a magnet. Probably don't pre-install your Botuli. So this deck has no way to get through the magnet besides boomerang. So now we've completely lost a boomerang. Of course, we can still simul chip these down. This is okay. It's not great. I was surprised that they had a hard end the runs, I'll be honest. All right, whatever. We can still do this. But yeah, the magnets are a nightmare. There's maybe an idea that you want a single buzzsaw on this list because magnet is 1 influence and it's pretty popular in startup as a nice tech card. Second ice on RD again. This is why I don't love this matchup. They just sit back and do nothing a lot of the times. Again, we are imitating them, but of course, putting on the aggression gives them the economy, and they generally don't have strong economies. So the more you run, like the faster they turtle up. All right, let's try and get some viruses. We have a Chastushka there, so I think we could consider doing boomerang Chastushka. Again, we can't do with a 3 subroutine Biroid in the run archives. I think that's fine. Yeah, let's do it. I just want to do something. Otherwise, this game is going to be really boring. It's weird. Botchas makes you choose the ice first, then the cost. Boomerang is the opposite. I wonder why that is. We'll also get a sabotage here because we're very likely going to need to move our Botuli. So we'll break the end of the run here. A second magnet here we can't get through. Double magnet HQ is impenetrable for this deck. Luckily, you don't see that often. This deck probably doesn't have 3 magnets. I don't know. I'm assuming they have a lot of Biroids. Their ability hasn't fired once. Not that ours has. It's an Eli. Fantastic. So simul chip. We'll trash one of the Botulus, and I guess the one with less counters on it. It only matters if you're playing the Nihilist niche. Install that there. Cookbook gets 2 virus counters so we can get through this Eli easy. And we get sabotage from HQ. Continue to counter ice. We'll break 2 of them. This is our first Biroid we'll pass. So that gives us some more information on the board, which is nice. Because the more stuff we res, the more often we know the unres stuff is as magnets. So let's see what they res here. They can res a Biroid, reducing the cost by 4. Oh, they res an Eli on R&D. That's fine. Let's do Sabotage 4. They've been sabotaging for HQ, so it's going to be a bit harder. But again, they can just keep that. It was 1 from HQ, 3 from R&D. Shuffle that. Let's just run archives. Hit them with fires. Breach servers, just a Vitruvius. We see some fast advanced pieces in there. We see some of the big stuff. Tier 3 next activations. A Spin Doctor out. Hakarl, which is tough for a deck, and a Ravana. Okay, cool. Some good hits. I don't know how many tiers they could possibly play, but tiers also really hard to boomerang or botulus. You can't even chisel it, right? It's 7 strength. Credit sprint, so they can shuffle some agendas back in. I don't know. I think we're not running HQ unless it's just Stushka. Like, it's just way too expensive for us to do anything else. And we only have 2 boomerangs in rotation now. We got to remember that. All right, you might think, oh, there's 14 credits in Fermenter, but like, do we need credits? I don't think we need credits, so I think we can leave this. Let's try and keep getting viruses down on tempo. We could also, in theory, like install a chisel and just bounce off the Eli turn over turn after turn after turn. Kind of okay with that idea. That's messed up. I think we'd want to have a Chestushka in hand before we do that. Oh, Devil Charm is quite nice. Okay, I don't think we have to do that. But let's just install some stuff. The chill is really nice for contesting the remote server, because I think if we trash the remote server, it's going to be hard for them to biotic out all their points, considering we stole 2 of their probably 4 3-2 agendas. And the question here is, what do? Do we install the simul chip? I think we install the simul chip. This gives us access to moving a botulus at instant speed. Means we can trash and install viruses, all that fun stuff. But we only have 16 cards left. This deck doesn't have that many viruses. Like, it's not built like an old noise deck where you can actually mill out your opponent. Like, we still have to get some accesses. Chestushka has a lot of axes in a single card. It's just a purge. That's totally fine with us. Like, whatever. They can afford to play this slow, though. We lost our imp. That's okay. That's something we can easily simul chip away. Honestly, don't mind chisel. Bounce off of Eli. Drop once. Again, so we want Chestushka. Double boomerang. Fantastic. That's a chisel there. Let's install it. It's free. It gets that cookbook counter. It gets the sabotage off Augustina. At this point, I don't think we're going to need a lot more money in the game. So let's just bounce R&D. So every time we run into this, it reduces the strength. So we can technically trash it. And go. Let's slowly chisel them down. I think it takes 2 more runs, right? Oh, there you go. Another piece of ice. That's fantastic. If they're doing that, they're not icing server 1. So I don't think we're too upset about that. Where did the Sabo come from? Because this gets harder and harder to Sabo from HQ. This deck probably has subliminal messaging for what it's worth. R&D, okay. So unknown in archives. We'll draw 1. I don't know if we need to install that. We probably install the daily cast sooner. Are we going to install a virus this turn to get another sabotage before we check? I don't know. Boomerang, we could run HQ. They'd get a cheap check. I think we could run HQ again. The HQ pressure gets a bit stronger. I would love another imp before we checked HQ, though. Yeah, whatever. I think we can just run arc. We have 6 cards in hand. We could run archives, install. It gets us some accesses, right? But we haven't seen... I think we've seen 1 spin doctor, so let's get some accesses. There's another Vitruvius. Okay, paid out. All right, so, Sansen. So they're on heavy fast advance. I don't know if they're going to have Vacherons, but 1 more sabotage, because Vacheron doesn't fire from archives, can win us the game. So let's get that down. That is free, just 8 credits. Nice. Way better than Sure Gamble, honestly. And if we draw, we can throw out the Sure Gamble. I'm fine with that. I don't think we're going to need every money card. And now next turn, we have a really nice play. Boomerang, Chestushka, install a virus, run archives. Hopefully that seals it out. Again, they're not pushing the remote server. They're playing it nice and slow. Never mind. Okay, we might have to run the remote server here. How bad is a magnet? Incredibly bad. Incredibly quite bad. Do we? Boomerang server 1 run it? Again, we've got all the 3-2s, so like they need seamless launch. It could just be a Sansan City Grid. We can afford to trash that. We also can run, yeah, I think we can just do Boomerang run. We just have to hit the magnet though. That's the problem. I think we can ignore it. Unless it's a spin doctor. Like I think we can just do Chestushka. Boomerang Chestushka, run archives. Hope it's not a spin doctor. There's only 1 left. What did they do? They didn't install credit. That kind of tells you they really wanted to jam this thing. Thinking. What else could it possibly be? Because if it's a botulus, how bad is this? Not that bad. Sorry, if it's a magnet, right? Like this stuff moves, which is totally fine. I think we just do Boomerang run it. They get some free reses, whatever. Again, magnets are a nightmare. And they need to have, I like these. The magnets are good because if they're a whole shit, at least we boomeranged it. But, oh, it's only 1 card? Oh, I thought it was all of them just because how it looked. That's fine. But yeah, now the Eli's a bit trickier. We can't really destroy that. Oh, sorry. It's good to have like hard end the runs in this deck. Oh man, if it's a 3rd magnet, kind of a nightmare. No further action. They only have 6 credits. It's a Nico campaign. We trash that, we draw a card. Why not? And we need the boomerang back. Okay. So we still could do Boomerang Chestushka. It's not particularly strong because we can't run archives the same turn. So I think we're just going to continue to set up here. We can draw 1 more, hopefully install something. SMC is fine. Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, we can destroy one of these. This, I guess we get rid of this one. With the self-modifying code, we can pull Imp at instant speed to get another sabotage before we check archives. It also allows us an instant speed to pull. I think our botulists are all accounted for. I think there's one more fermenter, but with 11 cards on stack, we don't mind. Oh, that ice on HQ is so good for them. It's really good. So how do we deal with this? Okay, so we need to boomerang this. Is this a magnet is the question. Again, just playing hard glacier and fast advancing out, we're gonna try and keep the pressure on. So the question is, can we just click through this? It's pretty likely. The chance of it being the last magnet is unlikely, but if they double magnet HQ, we're done. We can't run HQ anymore. We have to win off the remote or R&D, which is kind of on them to push the game into the remote server. So how do we get through this, right? So the Eli we can always click through, so that's not a problem. So we can just boomerang magnet run, use the simul chip. So I think we could do that. Boomerang magnet Chastushka. And if the worst comes to worst, we can always like self-modifying code for nothing. Shit, actually nothing. We could also install the chisel on the Eli. We could do chisel Eli, boomerang magnet run. Yeah, that seems fine. Chisel, boomerang, Chastushka. That gives us a click to potentially win. Yeah, I'll do that. Again, HQ is probably how we win. This also gets a sabotage 1, which is good. Or too much MU. Okay. I don't know if SMC gets us anything in their deck. I don't think it does. Again, I think we have 3 imp, 3 fermenter, 2 chisel, 3 botulus. I have a deck list over there. Boomerang this. Chastushka. Hope for the best. Okay, Brawn. Shit. So we have to click through one of these. This is the card that we definitely wanted to chisel, if anything. So unfortunate. At least it's not a magnet, though. They also have no money. So it honestly might be right to click through one. Oh, no, because it's Chastushka. We can't let the Chastushka not connect. So we could, in theory, simul chip this chisel. That gives us 1 click here. No, then that's a problem, too. Thinking. I just want to make sure that I know where everything is. 2 botulists. 1 in hand, 1 in archives. Okay, 1 on server 1. So that's all the botulists. Chisel, 2 on the table. So that's the only ways we can deal with ice outside of boomerang. And we need to make this, yeah. So I think we botulist click through 1, and then we just hope that Spin Doctor doesn't ruin us. Yeah, I think that's the best we have here. They only have 0 credits though. So you may install 1 piece of ice from HQ archives inwards. Actually, we don't care. They have 0 credits. Oh no, because then they can res it for -4. Yeah, no, we do care. Do we just chisel this? No, because then we're not getting in, I don't think. Okay, no. So we're going to simul chip. We've already trashed a card this turn. Fortunately, we're installing 2 viruses the same turn. Kind of ugly. Botulus here. Place a virus counter. We're over MU. We could consider popping the SMC at the same time. That's ugly. I just don't think we need the credits on the fermenter, but I'd rather keep this to be able to Augustine on their turn. I think that's a bit more valuable. Oh no, we probably should have just trashed this one here. Oh, that's a mistake. Whoops. Whoops. Whatever. Yeah, we definitely should have trashed the one that has absolutely no value besides the one that we actually can click on. Okay, so this, we will break the 2 and the runs. I guess that doesn't matter because we're going to click through the other one. Nah, it's all good. We'll see. We'll see. And then we'll click through, install nice. Because again, they install it and then once we pass it, they can res it for -4. And that could be an Eli. That could be it'd have to be a Biroid. And we have no more clicks. We had 1 click. Okay, it's a Ravana. That's fine. Continue. Boomerang. Counter. We only have 1 more simul chip, so like we have very limited accesses. We really need to make sure there's no Spin Doctor here because Spin Doctor again is so bad. Maybe we could have just set up because I don't think they're gonna overinstall a lot of stuff. No thanks. We'll get through that. Is Chastushka also optional? No, it's not optional. So we can't choose to take the access because in theory we could like self-modifying code for imp access. Continue to approach this one. We need to double charm this one first. Gets trashed. Breach server. Because this actually would have been good too. Because if we chiseled the Brawn and we trashed it, I don't think they get the Architects of Tomorrow trigger. Because we don't pass it. All right. What was it? 4 from HQ. Whoa. I wonder if that's the Spin Doctor left in HQ. But now they know they didn't lose off the top. That's super cool. You don't see that a lot. 4 from HQ. Okay. Now we have to win off HQ. Sprint. 1 click left. So I think learning off archives is super unlikely. Man, that's smart. Yeah, I forgot. Last click, they can just go from HQ. Yeah, sabotage last click. Kind of I think a misplay. Ugly. Okay. Still have 2 boomerangs in the list. We need a boomerang. We could always like first click run, boomerang this, some nonsense. This is going to charge up. Do we want to self-modifying code here for an imp? What else is this going to do for us? Nothing. Oh, fermenter. No, imp is more important, I think. Cookbook Augustina, so it has 3 counters. And they have to sabotage 1. Off top of R&D. Could potentially be game winning there. I'm kind of surprised. Let's draw into Steelskin. Don't have another virus unless we want to drop a botulus. I don't think we really want to do that. We can draw once for another virus. Spec work. In theory, we could spec work the magnet. This is just archives. So I want to see what cards they threw out. Oh, oh my. Oh, good game. That's amazing. The whole HQ, of course. That makes so much sense. Architect deployment test, Vashon, architect deployment test. And that's the issue, right? Like the slow deck. We didn't see many econ cards besides, of course, the what's it called? Besides the Nico campaign. But a lot of this, hey, you too. But yeah, you saw if we don't run, they don't have a lot of economic value. The magnet's so hard to play around. I totally forgot about that. This deck, like magnet, is an issue. You could consider playing a single buzzsaw, but like we're playing Breakerless, so I don't want to ruin that kind of idea. But that was really fun. But that's Architects tomorrow. It can be a grind. Like you need really strong pressure. It's hard to go for singles when your single gives them so much money and their ice gets so big. Again, I don't know if we managed I know for sure we didn't manage our very limited resources properly, but like every HQ run has to be a Chistushka. You can check the remote server, but that was really, really fun. All right, let's do one more. All right, startup. We are Loup. We're aggressive. We have a bit of sabotage. We have no breakers, so it's all about that boomerang and the Botulus, and we're against built to last, which can be quite fast. But some of the built to last decks I think want to go a bit slower, play defensive upgrades like Kayambe Grid. So we're okay with dealing with early ice, and I think that's pretty okay. Opening hand, we have Fermenter for economy, Imp for early pressure, Gachapon can convert into something. This hand's not bad. I feel like we can maybe do a bit better. I'm going to go for the mulligan, but like an Imp in your opening hand or a Chistushka in your opening hand as central pressure is great in the early game. Oh, that's perfect. We got that double gamble. We have that, I don't know what we're chiseling in this matchup, maybe an ice wall, but we also have a Botulus for the early remote, which is great. Best of luck, have fun. Mr. Chesto, a really nice piece of ice that is great and built to last. You get that advancement on tempo, so you can keep refilling it. And if you're clicking for a credit, why not do that? It sometimes does betray what the ice is. If you know it's an advanceable ice, that kind of lowers the pool, but you know, of course, there's going to be advanceable ice. Well, they just extracted unres card. So that was like 2 clicks for 6 credits and a card. That's fine, I suppose. All right, we got an open R&D here. I want to see what that archives card is. They just ripped that out there. This is one of the best like burst econ cards on low credits. Did they keep or they mulliganed? They took them all. Okay, so I'm gonna drop the gamble just so that we can play the next gamble after this. Mind you, the first time a turn we trash a card we're accessing, so this R&D Imp should land. We do get a draw card and get a credit off of Loup. The Clearinghouse. Okay, that tells us a bit about the deck for sure. We're gonna Imp that. We gotta watch out that they don't try to kill us. Looks like we can empty the Imp and then get a spec work, which is nice. The big question about this deck is where to like set your Botulus up, your boomerangs, what to chisel, and I don't know whether we want to pre-Botulus HQ. I generally don't like doing that because then they have a turn to like react to it. But a Steel Skin Scarring is going to help if they're a punitive list, a Neurospike list, or of course the Clearinghouse tries to kill us if they can't do it in one swoop. I wonder if they're on Urticas, right? Like install advance, make us guess what it is. New remote, advance might just be there, the hostile takeover. Not even. Okay, I think we're going to just go ahead and spec work. Oh, no, undo click. Sorry. Of course, don't do that. I think we're just gonna run it, right? Like, I don't know what it could be. If it's an Urtica, we can take 4 damage. We have a Steel Skin Scarring. Of course, our hand is good, but most of our hands are good. Oh, it's an Overrider. Okay. What do we lose? Botulus and Sure Okay. Do we want to trash this? I think we do. We draw a card and get a credit. We now only have hand size of 3. I was so used to playing ASA where you're actually really excited for that sort of thing to happen. Let's run R&D now. We have to play around Snare for sure. That's a wall-to-wall. We'll go ahead and imp that. Here, we can just probably Sure Gamble. We can consider checking HQ. I don't know why we're doing. Let's just run and see another card, and then we can end up with a Sure Gamble. I don't think we're going to trash something that takes 5 to trash. It's an Atlas. Okay, rewarded. And so we don't discard a card. Let's get a couple more credits. Next turn, we have the spec work to convert that Imp to just gas, and hopefully we draw another Imp, a Chistushka, Boomerang, Botulus, all this sort of stuff. And again, we don't mind that our stuff got trashed too much. We have 3 simul chips, so sometimes getting a Botulus in the bin is the easiest way for us to instant speed deal with something. What's the chance it's another Overrider? It's not. It's a hostile. We have bad publicity to our name. Let's go ahead and get some card draw. I'm going to try my hardest not to play the Steel Skin Scarring. We're just going to keep it in hand, so we can check some traps. We'll be on tempo. Another Atlas, better lucky than good. The question is whether we want to set up with these 2. I think we do. Let's get that Sabotage, 1 virus per turn. We don't really need the economy, but this is not bad. It's hopefully we click this in 4 or 5 turns when our econ dries up. And they did just Sabotage from the top of R&D. Always important to keep that in mind. Now that we installed the Fermenter, we are weak to program destruction, things like Stavka. Now Trebuchet also trashes things because we have things installed. But we'll be fine. We also don't know what they drew into, which is a bit of a bummer, but we're technically on game point. And it's also important sometimes to install a program like Fermenter just so that you can interact with an SDS drone deployment sooner than later. I wonder if we actually have to draw up so we don't die to like Bathonimus or just net damage. I don't know what they'd be playing. I don't think any of the Wayland cards inherently hurt you. but Jinteki definitely does. Double ice on HQ. Let's draw once. Double Charm Chisel is quite strong. Draw again. I think we can just install the Double Charm. We want to install a virus if we can, but pre-installing a Chisel is not particularly good. The big issue with this deck is that we don't have like a strong way to close the game quickly. I think we could easily put a Stargate in the list and be able to be like, okay, now we trashed all the ice on R&D, let's close the game. But it's more about like just pressure over time, sabotage over time, Chastushka, stuff like that, which for better or for worse, I don't know. I like the ability to close the game on our terms. Sometimes it'd be like, we know the game is going to be like 6 more turns, whether we like it or not. Arguably didn't need to install that daily cast. Our economy is fine. And again, our deck doesn't spend a lot of money because we don't have breakers. That's generally the biggest economy sink in Netrunner as a whole. Barb cards in hand. Again, might be fast advance. I think we're going to see install advance here. And Urtica is 4 damage. Oh, it's just another hostile takeover. Again, we can't really easily convert bad publicity into our side, unfortunately. It also could be a punitive list, but we've seen a couple too many small agendas to be like certain of that. Archer would be kind of mean. All right, let's just install this here. Now they have to sabotage 1, and if they res this ice, we get a Devil Charm in. They haven't built a remote yet. Sometimes it's good just to camp the remote server. They've scored out probably most of their fast advanced agendas. 1 from the top of R&D. I think we can just run archives here. Let's run R&D. Maybe they res. But there's 2 unknowns in archives. It's an Aket. Okay. I think we can just chisel that slowly. I don't think we have to Devil Charm it. They get an advancement and credit. They already have so many credits. I don't think we care. And if we run this back, it still won't go down because it has to hit 0 strength. And if not, the strength goes down. Yeah, that's fine. So maybe they put a second ice here. Maybe it was okay to chisel that, but 2 cards in archives, mind you, sabotaged, I think both from the top of R&D, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder what's in hand. A lot of people just don't like sabotaging from HQ because they feel like they're losing cards, like losing tempo. I think that's probably wrong. Oh, triple advance. Okay, now we're chiseling it. I feel like that might have not been the greatest use. Now they're basically asking to chisel it. So maybe a second ice here. Card in server 5, probably the Spin Doctor. I think we're going to check that first. If it's an Urtica, we have a chance of drawing with Steel Skin. But we definitely don't want to trash the ice, then run a Spin Doctor. Yeah, so you want to, if you're going to destroy things, destroy them earlier in the turn if you can. All right, Spin Doctor draws 2 cards. So HQ might have more agendas in it than they're expecting. And they're going to shuffle 2 cards back. Again, it was 1 Unseen and the Overwriter, which is a good reason why to have pressure on R&D. If they have Overwriters, Urticas, those are cards we can trash on R&D before they do anything. So now this is, what, 5 strength, technically 4 strength because of the chisel itself. So we'll Devil Charm it down to 0. And we bring it down. We do not trash a card we're accessing. We could have also put the Gachapon down first to dig for an imp. That might have been correct because this Colossus is going to be annoying. I regret what we've done. We can draw once. Fun enough, we could consider Gachapon to hit a virus this turn to see if they mill the top of R&D. What's Colossus do? As a tag and a trash a program subroutine, if I'm not mistaken. And they could advance it. The subroutines get meaner. Yeah, this is where I'd love to just like Gachapon down for a Stargate. If we had that, that would have been sick. I think we might want a Stargate in the list. All right, they didn't draw. So the chance of being a Colossus is, I think, relatively high. I think we could just crack the Fermenter, run it. They advanced it. So I think we can just run this, right? Like we can just eat our Fermenter, run it. I don't think we mind. Do we want to Gachapon for a breaker? We could Gachapon for a Botulus. Not that we have breakers. We got Fermenter. Wow, we have everything here. Fermenter, Imp, Paladin, Puemo, Cookbook, Chisel. The Chisel is only relevant if we get the Devil Charm. And I think this is currently 6 strength. So it's still good enough, but there's only 1 more Devil Charm. Wow, 5 options is kind of a lot. The Imp won't be permanent. I think we might just do the Puemo. Our money's actually pretty good. We have a fair bit of money, so that might not be right either. A Cookbook is good. It means that we can Botulus run R&D because we'll have 2. Shuffle 3 cards back. Okay, we definitely want... Puemo's not, I don't think, that necessary. Our economy's okay, and we're already on technically game point. The Imp is almost always good. Gachapon I like a fair bit, especially because we have Augustina. And I think the Chisel. Let's see if we regret not having enough money. Okay, I'm going to play 1 Steel Skin Scarring. I'm not exactly sure why, but we can Botulus R&D run it. We kind of want to keep 1 Botulus in case in case there's a remote server they push for, because they haven't pushed for a remote server yet. I do think we would probably want to Steel Skin Scarring here first to draw and see if we can get an Imp, because that makes our run so much better. There you go. It's a bit annoying that we're installing 2 viruses in 1 turn, but I think it is what it is. So now we can run here. If we trash a card, we will have to discard 1. We don't have to use our Imp if we don't want to. Let's see if that's the Colossus. It's Invincible Ice, so we know it's not an Archer. Again, that's the sort of like betrayal that advancements sometimes give your opponent. There you go, Colossus coming in at 6 strength, almost having some really mean subroutines. Currently, it's a tag and trash and installed program. Oh, that's, of course, is the runner's choice of program. Otherwise, I would say the runner trash is one of their programs. Regardless, we don't want to let that happen. Too bad publicity going down the drain. The only way we can use it is like self-modifying code or Gachapon or Simulchip during a run, but like it's kind of niche. It's a Whoredom. Let's just go ahead and imp that. Got to imp something. And the daily casts. I think we have a lot of money here. They might actually just purge. But I feel like all the other cards in our hand are a bit more important. Let's throw out the cast again. We only have 3 hand size. We are trying to play around snare. We could have ended our turn with a tag. I don't know how disastrous that would have been. Oh, they went for the purge. Okay, so we lost all our fermenter credits. The imp is also gone too. I think that's the part we're most upset about, but that's okay. I honestly don't know if we're going to botch this turn. I think we might have to steal skin scarring to find another virus. Let's steal skin for a virus. Double Chastushka means that we could consider botchless. Okay, we could do botchless boomerang Chastushka. We've seen 1 spin doctor so far. I don't mind that. I honestly don't mind that. We won't be able to check archives though in the same turn. So like a whole spin doctor like kind of ruins it. But like we have to discard 2 of the cards. This is going to be expensive play. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whatever. That seems exciting. Christina gets a sabotage 1. So this is technically a sabotage 5 turn. Like that's kind of cool. There's no border control in startup. So there's nothing that's going to like surprise your run is ended. And in theory, actually, if there's a battlement, the surprise our run is ended is a real thing. That's one of the few ice that we can't deal with. Because we're going to be able to deal 2 ice with 2 subroutines apiece. But this is kind of pricey. This is where our econ issues are going to catch up to us. Sabotage 1 from top of R&D. Okay. Boomerang on the innermost. Go ahead and throw those 4 fists. 6 credits to spend. Cool thing is if we hit an Afshar here like that, in theory, we can lose the 2 credits to bad publicity. That's actually a nice way to use bad publicity, I suppose. So we'll break the 1 subroutine we can, because if Afshar is on HQ, you can't break both of the subs. So that's fine. So now we know we can go through this every turn, because we just lose the 2 bad pub and break 1 subroutine, which botchless almost always has 1 subroutine on it. Let's see what the second most ice here is. We're costing them credits. They could extract their way out of this. It's just a little old ice wall. So Boomerang definitely gets through that. Just 1 strength, 1 end the run barrier. Back from the original core set. Still good enough. Take that, Echo. And he will have Sabotage 4, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to run archives this exact turn. So a Spin Doctor would be absolutely ruinous. Sometimes it's good to keep a Spin Doctor on deck just to respond to it, but I don't think a lot of times you're going to see a lot of Chastushka decks. And they don't know. Like, mind you, we're not Asa. Like, they're probably not playing around too much Sabotage besides the minimum from Augustina. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe they Spin Doctor here and we'll be upset. Mind you, we light the fire is like a nice way to keep Spin Doctors in check, specifically against horizontal decks that can kind of hide them out there. But slots are a problem, and we're not too excited to core damage ourselves as much as we were back in the day with Asa. Server 6, please no dock. Oh, it's probably a dock. At least we can run R&D after. That looks like a Spin Doctor, huh? All right, we have another Chastushka, so we can consider like bringing the Spin Doctor down. And ooh, Snare's a problem too. I think if there's Spin Doctor, like we just run archives, right? Like, what do we care? Let's draw once. I don't know what we're drawing for. In theory, we could consider popping the Fermenter if we're really worried about a Mavirus. Maybe there's a Mavirus out there, actually. That's worth checking at some point. But 9 cards here. Let's see if there's a Spin Doctor gets flipped. There's 1 Spin Doctor. Draw 2. And we want to make sure if we're installing a virus, we do it before we check the Spin Doctor. Okay, so it's 2. Sorry, there's a fire truck. All right, so 2 face downs were shuffled back. We see pad campaigns, which might be what's in server 7. We have Urtica, hedge fund, a second extract. Okay, good to know. So do we check server 7 here? Could easily be a snare. I don't think we really need to. It also could be a second Spin Doctor. That would be actually the 3rd Spin Doctor, excuse me. But I don't see how they're winning out quickly. I think we can consider checking it. Maybe it's a snare. If it's a snare, it's really bad for us. That's for sure. We want to keep all these 3 cards. And we're going to have to crack our Fermenter next turn. It's a Roughneck Repair Squad. Yeah, we'll imp that. We have bad publicity, mind you. It's really rough to play a lot of assets when a bad publicity deck. Admittedly, they will remove the bad publicity, but for us, that was basically draw a card at the same time because we trashed it for 2, got 1 back. And we'll get the Gachapon down so we can install a virus on their turn if we really want to. I don't know if we do. We can, in theory, chisel the ice wall, which would make HQ pretty porous. But let's see. Maybe we use this to react. I think we have 1 more chisel and 17 cards. It's only 2 in the list. I wish it was more. Maybe we should just play more than 42 cards. Let's just play Loup 45. Install double advance, and they're not doing anything with it. Okay, so we know it's not a Spin Doctor. If it's a clearinghouse, we could potentially die. Not this turn. We have a Steel Skin Scarring in hand, which makes it simple. A lot of fire tracks. Okay, on their turn, we're going to crack the Gachapon because we know this is not a Spin Doctor. We have Augustina, Fermenter, Keiko, Simulchip. Okay. So it's just the cookbook of the Fermenter. Fermenter actually does something. We're installing this for free. Oh, MU, that's fine. The order here does not matter. We have a chance of winning here. We just want to make sure that we have at least 2 cards in hand at the end of our turn so that we don't just die to a single clearinghouse. Shuffle 3 more cards back in. Okay, so we don't need Augustina and Cookbook. They're unique, so we'll just do the other 3. Mind you, we could lose one of these to like a above the law, but that's fine. Okay, start a turn. We can click this for 6 credits. we need 3, 4, 5. So if we do Fermenter, Boomerang, Chastushka, we'd have to draw one or we lose to Clearinghouse. So I'm not sure if that's the play. If we check Surveys, an undercut's 4 damage. Not amazing. It also could be 2 more core damage. The clearing, mind you, with the Cerebral Overrider did go back to the deck. And if they score out, what's it called? How bad is it if they score out an STS drone deployment? It's not great. I want to keep this in hand at all time, though. I do want to keep this. I really wish we could chisel that. That would have been really good for us. Of course, R&D's top is free. In terms of the imp count, we have... Let me move my face. We have 1 more imp in the list, so we could draw for imp. It's a 1 in 14, not great. Keiko, not really worth anything. It gives us MU, but it's unfortunately I'm just running R&D here, I think, for free. We can crack a Fermenter. Probably should have some money. We have bad publicity, actually. No, trashing stuff on R&D would have been easy. But yeah, we can crack a Fermenter here. We sometimes want to keep them around, so our 3 simul chips haven't shown up yet, right? Yeah, we have still 3 simul chips, so it's useful to have a program you're okay trashing on the turn. We also haven't seen any reason not to be scared of tags, like no retribution. Maybe they're running extract because it lets them to deal with failed traps. It's a divested trust. Wow, 1 point agenda. Okay, wasn't expecting that. So either we install a card or lose a card. I guess we could put Keiko down for 2. I don't think it's going to be really important. We only have 1 more Poimo in the list, I think. Yeah, currently. We removed 1 from the game. So let's see what's Survey 8. Again, if it's an SDS, they're technically on game point. They could figure out how to like fast advance at the last 3-2 agenda. Again, we're assuming there might be a Zeph protocols, which it could be a Zeph on the table. It could be a Zeph into like Neurospike for all we know. And in theory, that does a fair bit of damage, right? That can do 6 damage. So if the Azef doesn't hit the Steel Skin, we die to Azef single Neurospike. All right, now we have to start making some calls. Just kidding. That's a hostile. Okay. That doesn't really help us win the game so much. So I don't think we mind about that one. I'm still going to keep the Steel Skin here. Okay, now that we have enough clicks, right, we can do Boomerang, Chastushka, Run Archives, Draw, so we don't die to, yeah, we don't die to, and it actually makes us safer. If we end on 2 cards in hand, one of them is Steel Skin, we're safer to like Azef, Neurospike. Let's go. The 4 fists, they will punch. So this, Botulus, and the run. Unbroken subroutine, we lose 2 of our 3 bad publicity. Continue through, Boomerang the Ice Wall. They have 18 credits, but we're pretty safe to punitive at this point with almost on game point. Let's see where the Sabotage 4 comes from. Love to see 4 from the top of R&D. People have been just ripping 4 off of R&D and it hasn't been working out for us. So what do we know? And then we have to make sure we draw last click for sure. So we don't die to something simple. 2 from HQ, 2 from R&D. Okay. So I don't know if there's any traps from Archives that fire. We'll run that first. Hoping for the best here. Azef, that's it. Nice. Good game. And of course, last click there, we'd have to draw just to make sure that we don't die to anything. Could have potentially been a Ronin in the remote server. Thanks for the game. I'd be really surprised if it was. Let's see if we can see what's in Archives, if we can put a read on this deck. So it looks like they have punitive. Again, Divested Trust is one of the clear signs that they're on a punitive list because it allows them to like return 5/3 agendas to hand. Surprised we didn't see, like we saw more of the 2-pointers than the 1-pointers. So sometimes it's hard to play punitive when you're running so many agendas. So it's quick for the runner to get to game point where punitive is useless, right? If we're on 4 points, we steal a 3-pointer, the game's over. So punitive seems to be one of the cards they discarded from HQ off of Sabotage. But they only had 11 cards left, 1 Spin Doctor, but that is the aggression. No breakers, just barely being able to barrel through. But it looks like they were a trap deck. So it's about making the right calls, which this deck is a bit worse against than Asa, where you can have huge hand size and light the fire and stuff like that. But really fun deck, a lot of aggression. I think we sabotaged a heck of a lot. I'll have the number there at the bottom for as many sabotage triggers as we have, but this is cool. I like this version, I think, a fair bit more than the Asa version. The Asa version was way too slow. It was like really clunky. It was hard to put pressure and get tempo at the same time. I do think you could build this deck and probably make it Keiko. Sorry, not Keiko, Hoshiko, excuse me. And it would probably be just as good, if not even better. Just because I think it's easier to get Hoshiko value than it is to get a Loup value. Most of our Loup value is entirely based off the 3 imps, and our simul chips are actually heavily tied into recurring our other cards because we have limited breakers, right? So I do think you could do this in Keiko and probably get an equal and very similar mileage, which is quite cool. You also have a link, which is, I guess, nice. That's the deck. I like this version a lot better. Highly recommend. Thanks for watching. Ciao.